She texted, "You mean nothing to me," while I stood in line at the DMV. I left the next day without a word. But when I found her secret accounts and fake medical bills, I realized she'd been planning to destroy me for years. Then the DNA test came back. My name is Daniel Shaw. I'm 43 years old, and I used to think I had it all figured out. My wife Jessica and I ran a successful travel agency in Portland, Oregon, Shaw & Associates Travel. I handled the adventure tours and group bookings while she coordinated corporate travel packages. We built it from nothing 15 years ago, back when we still finished each other's sentences and stayed up talking about dreams instead of spreadsheets. Our son Tyler just turned 15. Great kid, honor roll student, plays varsity basketball. He's got his mother's eyes and my stubborn streak. I worked 60-hour weeks to give him opportunities one never had, to make sure he'd never worry about money the way I did growing up in a Rust Belt town, where the factory closing meant half your neighbors lost everything overnight. The day it all fell apart started ordinary enough. I was at our downtown office reviewing vendor contracts for a corporate retreat we were organizing. Big account, nearly 200 employees heading to Cabo for a leadership conference. Jessica had been working that account for months, staying late 3 or 4 nights a week to finalize details. My phone buzzed around 2 in the afternoon. Text from Jessica. I figure it was about the Cabo contract, or maybe asking me to pick up Tyler for basketball practice. Instead, 7 words that hit me like a freight train. "You don't mean anything to me anymore." I stared at the screen, reading it again and again. No context, no explanation, just that cold statement delivered like she was canceling a dinner reservation. My hands went numb. The office suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. I called her immediately. It rang 4 times before she picked up. "Jessica, what the hell is this message?" I asked, keeping my voice steady even though my pulse was hammering. "Exactly what it says, Daniel," she replied, her tone flat and distant. "I've been thinking about this for a while. I don't feel anything for you anymore. I haven't for a long time." "A long time? What are you talking about? We just had dinner with the Hendersons last week. You seem fine." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Fine. I've been fine for years, Daniel. Fine at pretending. Fine at playing the dutiful wife. I'm done being fine." My mind raced through recent months, searching for clues I'd missed. Is there someone else? Silence. Long enough to be an answer. "Who is it?" I pressed. "Does it matter?" Jessica said, "This isn't about someone else. This is about you and me. There is no you and me anymore. We have a son, Jess. We have a business together. You can't just." "I can, and I am," she interrupted. "I'll be staying at the office tonight. We can figure out the details later." The line went dead. I sat there in my chair, staring at the Cabo contracts spread across my desk. All those late nights she'd spent working on this account. The pieces started clicking into place with sickening clarity. The client contact for this retreat was Ryan Cooper, the VP of operations for a tech company downtown. Smooth talker, expensive suits, always complimented Jessica's efficiency when he called the office. I pulled up the account files on my computer and started digging. There, buried in the communication logs, were dozens of emails between Jessica and Ryan that went way beyond professional. Dinner meetings that weren't on our business calendar. Hotel confirmations for weekend trips that never showed up in our books. She'd been using our business to hide her affair. My phone buzzed again. Tyler texting. "Mom says she's working late again. Can you grab me after practice?" I looked at my son's message, then back at Jessica's. "You don't mean anything to me anymore." Right then, something shifted inside me. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, sharper. Clarity. I closed my laptop, grabbed my keys, and walked out of the office. I didn't leave a note. I didn't call Jessica back. I just left. By the time I picked up Tyler for basketball practice, I'd already made 3 decisions that would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those emails, heard Jessica's cold voice telling me I meant nothing. Tyler was in his room, oblivious to the fact that his family was disintegrating. I sat in the garage until 3 in the morning, staring at the camping gear we'd bought for a trip we'd never take. The 3 decisions I'd made after leaving the office kept cycling through my mind. First, document everything. Second, protect Tyler. Third, disappear before she could spin this her way. By 5 in the morning, I was already moving. I pulled up our business bank accounts on my laptop, the ones I'd helped build from zero. Jessica had been transferring money out for months, small amounts that didn't trigger any flags. 500 here, 1,000 there. It added up to nearly $40,000, all flowing into an account I'd never seen before. I took screenshots of everything. Every transaction, every email, every hotel receipt I could find. Then I started looking deeper into our personal finances. That's when I found the medical bills. Claims submitted to our insurance company for treatments Jessica supposedly received. Therapy sessions, specialist consultations, even a minor surgical procedure. All fake. She'd been defrauding the insurance company, pocketing the reimbursements. Another $30,000. Easy. My wife wasn't just a cheater. She was a criminal. At 6:17, I heard Tyler's alarm go off upstairs. I closed my laptop, stood up, and made my choice. I wasn't going to be there when Jessica came home from wherever she'd spend the night. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I walked upstairs to Tyler's room. He was pulling on his basketball shoes, earbuds in, nodding to whatever music was playing. "Hey, buddy," I said. He pulled out an earbud. "I need to talk to you about something." The look on his face told me he already knew something was wrong. "Your mom and I are having some problems," I said carefully. "I'm going to be staying somewhere else for a little while. But I need you to know something important. None of this is your fault, and I'm not going anywhere. You understand? I'm always going to be your dad." Tyler's jaw tightened. "Is she cheating on you?" The question hit me like a punch. "What makes you ask that?" "I'm not stupid, Dad. She's been different for months. Always on her phone, always going out. And that Ryan guy from her work? He's been calling the house when you're not here." My 15-year-old son had seen what I'd been too busy to notice. "Yeah," I said quietly. "She is." Tyler nodded slowly, then stood up and hugged me. "I'm sorry, Dad." "Me too, son. Me too." I packed one bag. Clothes, documents, my laptop, and the old watch my father gave me before he died. Everything else could stay. I didn't want anything that reminded me of the life I thought I had. At 7:30, I walked out the front door, threw my bag in the truck, and drove away. I didn't look back at the house. I didn't leave a note for Jessica. I just left. By noon, my phone was exploding with calls and texts from her. "Where are you? We need to talk. This is ridiculous. Don't be childish." I turned off my phone and kept driving. I checked into her extended stay hotel on the other side of town, paid cash for 2 weeks, and sat down to plan my next move. Jessica thought I'd roll over, that I'd let her control the narrative and walk away with everything. She was about to learn that the quiet guy she'd been lying to for months wasn't quiet because he was weak. He was quiet because he was watching, waiting, and planning. And now it was time to act. The call came 3 days after I left. Not from Jessica, but from someone I hadn't heard from in nearly 2 years. Vanessa Hunt, Jessica's former college roommate and best friend. They'd had some falling out that Jessica never fully explained, and Vanessa disappeared from our lives overnight. "Daniel, we need to talk," Vanessa said when I answered. "I heard what happened." "Well, what's happening?" "And there's something you need to know. We met at a coffee shop across town." Vanessa looked older than I remembered, tired around the eyes. She slid a manila envelope across the table to me. "I should have told you this 2 years ago," she began. "But Jessica threatened me. Said she'd ruin my career if I opened my mouth. I was a coward, and I'm sorry." I opened the envelope. Inside were printed photographs, timestamps from security cameras, and what looked like bank statements. My stomach dropped as I started piecing it together. "Jessica's been having an affair with Ryan Cooper for almost 3 years," Vanessa said quietly. "I found out by accident when I stopped by her office one night. They were in the conference room together. When I confronted her, she told me to mind my own business or she'd spread rumors that I was embezzling from my firm. 3 years. Not months. Years." "There's more," Vanessa continued. "Tyler isn't Ryan's biological son, but the timeline of when their affair started? It's close enough that Jessica freaked out about it. That's why she insisted on that Ancestry DNA kit thing for Tyler's science project last year. She needed to know." My hands went numb. "What do the tests show?" "According to what she told me in a drunk voicemail, Tyler is yours biologically. But here's the thing, Daniel. About 6 months ago, you went to that specialist for your back injury, remember?" I nodded. "Herniated disc from moving heavy luggage at the office. They ran some blood work as part of the pre-surgery screening. Did they ever tell you about any other findings?" "No, what?" Vanessa pulled out another document. "Medical records with my name on them. I have a friend who works in medical records at that hospital. These results show that you have a condition called Klinefelter syndrome. It's a chromosomal thing. The bottom line is, Daniel, you're infertile. You have been your whole life. The coffee shop seemed to tilt sideways. That's impossible. Tyler isn't biologically yours, Vanessa finished. Jessica must have gotten pregnant right before you two married. Before Ryan, with someone else. She's been lying to you from the very beginning. I sat there, trying to process what I was hearing. 15 years of raising a boy I loved more than my own life. And he wasn't mine. Not genetically. Does Tyler know? I asked. I don't think so. But Jessica does. And she's been using that secret as leverage, planning to reveal it during divorce proceedings to hurt you and maybe affect custody. I looked at the medical records, the photographs, the evidence of years of deception. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. Thank you for telling me, I said finally. I know it took courage. Vanessa reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Tyler is still your son in every way that matters. Don't let her take that from you. I spent the rest of that day in my hotel room, staring at those documents. The affair, the lies, the medical fraud, and now this. Jessica hadn't just betrayed me. She'd built our entire marriage on a foundation of deception. But Vanessa was right about one thing. Tyler was my son. DNA didn't change the midnight fevers I'd nursed, the baseball games I'd coached, the homework sessions, the scraped knees, the proud moments. He was mine because I'd chosen to be his father every single day of his life. And I'd be damned if I'd let Jessica use that truth as a weapon. I hired an attorney the next morning. Not just any attorney, but Catherine Pierce, a woman with a reputation for destroying dishonest spouses in divorce court. She came highly recommended by Vanessa, and after our first meeting, I understood why. Your wife is a piece of work, Catherine said, reviewing the documents I brought. Insurance fraud, embezzlement from your joint business, falsifying medical records. We're not just talking divorce here, Daniel. We're talking potential criminal charges. I want custody of Tyler, I said. That's non-negotiable. Catherine looked up from the papers. Given what you've told me about his biological parentage, that could be complicated. But if we can prove that revealing this information would be psychologically harmful to the child, and that Jessica only wants to use it as a manipulation tactic, we've got a strong case. What about the business? That's where things get interesting. Catherine pulled up a spreadsheet on her laptop. I had my forensic accountant do a preliminary review of the documents you provided. Your wife has been siphoning money from Shaw & Associate Travel for at least 18 months. She's created a shell company, Cascade Corporate Solutions, and has been routing client payments through it. I leaned forward. How much? Approximately $160,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. What? She's been careful, spreading it out over time, making it look like legitimate business expenses. Conference fees, vendor payments, software subscriptions. All fake. The money went into Cascade's account, then into an offshore holding account in the Cayman Islands. I thought about all those nights Jessica worked late, all those business trips, all those times she'd insisted on handling the bookkeeping because I was too busy with client relations. She'd been robbing me blind while I smiled and trusted her. Can we recover any of it? I asked. Some. But here's what I want to do, Catherine said, her eyes sharp. We don't go after her just yet. We let her think she's getting away with it. Meanwhile, I file an emergency motion for a restraining order based on financial misconduct. We freeze all business and personal accounts, preventing her from moving any more money. She'll fight that. Let her. The evidence is overwhelming. And while she's busy fighting the freeze, we gather more evidence. I want to know everything about Ryan Cooper. His finances, his marriage status, his business dealings. If he's complicit in any of this fraud, we bring him down too. I nodded slowly. What about Tyler? Jessica kicked me out, effectively. I haven't seen my son in almost a week. Catherine's expression softened slightly. That's our first move. Tomorrow morning, we file for emergency custody evaluation and request supervised visitation immediately. No judge is going to keep a father from his son without cause, especially when the mother is under investigation for fraud. Over the next 3 days, everything moved fast. Catherine filed the restraining order on the business accounts. Jessica lost her mind when she found out, calling me 60 times in 2 hours. I didn't answer once. Then came the visitation order, and suddenly I was having coffee with Tyler at a supervised facility, trying to explain why everything was falling apart. Dad, Mom's saying you stole money from the business, Tyler said, his face confused and hurt. She says you're trying to destroy her. I looked at my son, this kid I'd raised from diapers, and made a decision. I wasn't going to lie to him anymore, but I wasn't going to destroy him either. Tyler, your mom and I are having serious problems. Some things have happened that I can't talk about yet because of legal stuff, but I need you to know something. I reached across the table and gripped his shoulder. No matter what she says, no matter what anyone says, I love you. You're my son, and nothing's going to change that. Ever. Do you understand? Tyler's eyes were wet. I just want things to be normal again. I know, buddy. I know. But normal was dead. And the truth was coming whether we were ready for it or not. Catherine called me a week later with news that changed everything. Daniel, we found a witness. Someone who's willing to testify about Jessica's fraud and the affair. Who? I asked. His name is Gerald Thompson. He's 67, retired postal worker, lives in the apartment building next to your office. He's been watching Jessica and Ryan Cooper come and go for years. He kept a journal. We met Gerald at a diner downtown. He was a thin man with sharp eyes and steady hands. He slid a worn notebook across the table to me. I started writing things down about 2 years ago, Gerald explained. I'm a creature of habit, you see. I walk my dog at the same times every day, and I kept seeing the same pattern. That woman, your wife, and the man in the expensive car. They'd arrive separately, always on Wednesday afternoons when your office was supposed to be closed. I flipped through the journal. Dates, times, descriptions, all meticulously recorded. Why didn't you say anything before? I asked. Gerald shrugged. Wasn't my business. But then I saw you on the news last week, something about a business dispute and fraud charges. I did some research, put 2 and 2 together. Figure you could use the help. Catherine was beaming. Mr. Thompson, would you be willing to testify in court about what you observed? Yes, ma'am. I served in Vietnam. I know what honor means, and what that woman's doing to this man. It ain't honorable. That same afternoon, Catherine filed an emergency motion to modify custody arrangements. Jessica had been blocking my access to Tyler, claiming I was a danger to him. Now we had evidence showing she'd been using our business as a front for her affair, exposing Tyler to her lies. The next day, Jessica's entire world started crumbling. Her employer, the tourism board where she'd been consulting on the side, launched an internal investigation after Catherine forwarded them evidence of her fraudulent billing practices. Turned out Jessica had been charging the board for hours she never worked, inflating expense reports, and routing kickbacks through fake vendor accounts. They suspended her immediately. Then came the call I've been waiting for. Tyler, calling from his cell phone. Dad, I need to talk to you, he said, his voice tight. Can you come get me? I was there in 15 minutes. Tyler was waiting outside the school, backpack slung over one shoulder, looking like he'd aged 5 years overnight. What happened? I asked as he climbed into the truck. Mom's boyfriend came to the house last night, Tyler said. Ryan. They were fighting about money, about some investigation. She was screaming at him, saying he promised to protect her. Then she saw me listening and lost it. Started yelling at me, saying I was spying for you. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Did she hurt you? No, but Dad, she's not okay. She's falling apart, and I can't be there anymore. I can't watch her destroy herself and try to drag me down with her. I pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face my son. Tyler, there's something I need to tell you. Something about your mom and me, and about you. I know I'm not yours, Tyler said quietly. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. What? I heard her on the phone last week. She was talking to her lawyer, saying she was going to use it against you in court. That you've been raising another man's kid all these years. Tyler's voice split. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I unbuckle my seatbelt and pull my son into a hug. Listen to me. I don't care what any blood test says. You're my son. You've been my son since the day you were born. DNA doesn't make a father, Tyler. Love does. Showing up does. Being there does. And I have been there for every single moment of your life. Tyler was crying now, really crying. Mom said you'd leave me when you found out. Never, I said fiercely. Do you hear me? Never. That woman doesn't get to decide who I am or who you are. We're family, and nothing she says or does will change that. We sat there in the parking lot for 20 minutes while Tyler cried, and I held him. When he finally pulled back, He looked at me with red eyes and said, "I want to live with you, Dad. Officially. I don't care what the court says. We'll make it happen," I promised. Catherine's already working on it. That night, I called Catherine and told her about Tyler's decision. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "Daniel, this is going to get ugly. Jessica will fight this with everything she has." "Let her fight," I replied. "I'm not backing down." Jessica's response to Tyler's decision was exactly what I expected. Scorched earth. She filed an emergency motion claiming I'd been coaching Tyler against her, that I was manipulating him with lies. She demanded immediate full custody and supervised visitation only for me. The hearing was set for 3 days later. Catherine spent those days preparing our case like a general planning a battle. We had Gerald's testimony, the financial records, the evidence of fraud, and now Tyler's own statement about what he'd witnessed. The courtroom was tense. Jessica sat with her attorney, wearing a conservative dress and minimal makeup, playing the wounded mother. Ryan Cooper wasn't there, conspicuously absent. Smart move on his part. The judge, Harriet Brennan, was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s with a reputation for seeing through manipulation. She reviewed the documents in silence before looking up. "Mrs. Shaw, I've read your emergency filing," Judge Brennan said. "You claim Mr. Shaw has been alienating your son against you. Can you provide evidence of this?" Jessica's attorney stood. "Your Honor, our client has documented numerous instances where Mr. Shaw has made disparaging remarks about Mrs. Shaw in front of their son." "Show me the documentation." The attorney fumbled. "We have Mrs. Shaw's testimony." "That's not documentation. That's hearsay." "What else do you have?" "Nothing." They had nothing. Catherine stood. "Your Honor, we have substantial evidence showing that Mrs. Shaw has been engaging in systematic fraud against both the family business and multiple insurance companies. We also have a witness who can testify to Mrs. Shaw's extramarital affair being conducted at the business premises, potentially exposing the minor child to inappropriate situations." Judge Brennan's eyebrows rose. "Proceed." Gerald Thompson took the stand. He was calm, detailed, and devastating. He recounted dates, times, and observations spanning 2 years. Jessica's face grew paler with each passing minute. Then Catherine presented the financial evidence. The fake medical bills, the shell company, the offshore accounts. By the time she finished, Jessica's attorney was sweating. "Your Honor, we'd like to request a recess to review this new evidence," he said. "Denied," Judge Brennan replied. "This evidence was available through proper discovery. Your failure to investigate your client's background is not this court's problem. I'm also concerned about the allegations of insurance fraud. Mrs. Shaw, are you currently under investigation by any law enforcement agencies?" Jessica's attorney whispered something to her. She shook her head. Catherine spoke up. "Your Honor, we've been informed by the district attorney's office that an investigation was opened 2 days ago based on evidence we provided regarding fraudulent insurance claims." The judge's expression hardened. "Mrs. Shaw, I'm denying your emergency custody motion. Furthermore, I'm granting Mr. Shaw temporary primary physical custody of the minor child, pending a full custody evaluation. You will have supervised visitation twice weekly until this court determines otherwise." Jessica stood abruptly. "This is insane. He's turning my son against me." "Mrs. Shaw, sit down," Judge Brennan ordered. "And let me be clear. If you continue to make unsubstantiated allegations against Mr. Shaw, I will hold you in contempt. The evidence before this court suggests that you have been engaging in criminal behavior and using your son as a pawn in an attempt to avoid consequences. That ends today." The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, Tyler was waiting with Catherine's paralegal. When he saw me, he ran over. "Did we win?" he asked. "Yeah, buddy. We won. You're coming home with me." Jessica burst out of the courthouse at that moment, her attorney trying to calm her down. She saw Tyler and me standing together, and her face twisted with rage. "You're poisoning him against me," she screamed across the parking lot. "He's my son." Tyler stepped closer to me. "No, Mom. I made my own choice. You did this to yourself." It was the first time I'd ever heard my son stand up to her like that. He wasn't being disrespectful, just honest. And Jessica couldn't handle it. She tried to approach us, but her attorney held her back. "Mrs. Shaw, you need to leave. Now, or you'll violate the judge's order." As we drove away, Tyler asked me a question. Dad, what's going to happen to her? I don't know, son. But whatever happens, she brought it on herself. And you and me? We're going to be okay. I believe it too. For the first time in months, I actually believed it. The call from Detective Sarah Reeves came on a Wednesday morning, 3 weeks after the custody hearing. Tyler was at school, and I was working from the apartment I'd rented, trying to rebuild some semblance of normalcy in our lives. Mr. Shaw, this is Detective Reeves from the Portland Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit. I need to speak with you about your wife, Jessica Shaw. Can you come down to the station? My stomach tightened. Is this about the insurance fraud? Among other things. How soon can you be here? I was there in 40 minutes. Detective Reeves was a sharp-eyed woman in her late 40s who looked like she'd seen every con in the book. She led me to an interview room and spread out a file that had to be 3 inches thick. Mr. Shaw, we've been investigating your wife for 6 weeks now, she began. What started as insurance fraud has uncovered something much bigger. Your wife and Ryan Cooper have been running a sophisticated embezzlement scheme through your travel agency for almost 4 years. For years. My head spun. How much are we talking about? Approximately $320,000. They'd create fake corporate clients, book phantom travel packages, and split the money. The shell company you discovered, Cascade Corporate Solutions, that's just one of 5 they created. I sat back in my chair, trying to process the number. $320,000. Our entire business had been a front for their theft. There's more, Detective Reeves continued. Ryan Cooper's wife, Linda, filed for divorce 2 weeks ago after we contacted her with our findings. She's cooperating fully with our investigation. Turns out Ryan's been doing this at 3 other travel agencies in Oregon and Washington. Your wife was his most successful partner. What happens now? I asked. We're preparing to file formal charges against both of them. Wire fraud, money laundering, insurance fraud, falsification of business records. Your wife is looking at 5 to 7 years in prison if convicted. More if we can prove she participated in Ryan's other schemes. Prison. The mother of my son, facing prison time. I need you to testify, Detective Reeves said. You're the victim here, Mr. Shaw. Your business, your reputation, your finances. All of it was destroyed by their actions. I'll testify, I said without hesitation. But I need to know something. Will this affect Tyler? The custody arrangement. Actually, it strengthens your case. A judge isn't going to award custody to someone facing felony charges. That evening, I sat Tyler down and told him everything. He listened quietly, his face growing paler with each revelation. So Mom's going to jail? He asked when I finished. Probably, yeah. If she's convicted. Tyler was silent for a long moment. Then he said something that broke my heart. I'm not surprised. I think I always knew she was capable of something like this. She always cared more about money than people. Tyler, she's still your mother. No, Dad, Tyler interrupted. She's the woman who gave birth to me. You're my parent. There's a difference. 2 days later, Jessica was arrested. It made the local news. I watched from my apartment as they led her out of the courthouse in handcuffs after she'd been denied bail. The woman who'd once told me I meant nothing looked small and defeated. Tyler refused to visit her in jail. I didn't force him. Catherine advised that any contact with Jessica during the criminal proceedings should be minimal anyway. But the real shock came a week later when Catherine called with an update. Daniel, Jessica's attorney, reached out. She wants to make a deal. She'll testify against Ryan Cooper, plead guilty to reduced charges, and in exchange, she wants visitation rights with Tyler preserved. What kind of reduced charges? I asked. 3 years instead of 7. She'd serve 18 months with good behavior. I thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. No, she doesn't get to use Tyler as a bargaining chip. She made her choices, and now she lives with the consequences. Catherine was quiet. You sure about this? A trial could drag on for months. I'm sure. Tyler deserves better than a mother who only thinks about him when she needs something. The message was delivered. Jessica's attorney called back within hours, desperate. Without the deal, she was facing the full weight of the charges. Too bad, I told Catherine. She should have thought about that before she stole everything I worked for. The trial began on a cold November morning. The courtroom was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and representatives from the insurance companies Jessica had defrauded. I sat in the front row with Tyler beside me, both of us there to watch justice unfold. Jessica looked terrible. 3 months in jail had aged her. Her hair was pulled back severely, and she wore an ill-fitting suit that made her look fragile. When she glanced back and saw Tyler, something in her face crumpled, but my son looked away. The prosecution laid out their case methodically. Bank records, emails, testimony from Linda Cooper about Ryan's confession. Then came the forensic accountant who explained exactly how the scheme worked, using charts and graphs that made even the most complicated fraud look simple. When they called me to testify, I walked to the stand with my head high. The prosecutor, a young woman named Angela Brooks, guided me through my testimony. "Mr. Shaw, when did you first discover your wife's fraudulent activities?" she asked. "The day she told me I meant nothing to her," I replied. "I started digging into our business records and found irregularities that led to everything else." "How did these discoveries affect you?" "They destroyed my business, my marriage, and nearly destroyed my relationship with my son. Everything I'd built for 15 years was a lie." Jessica's attorney tried to cross-examine me, suggesting I'd been negligent in my bookkeeping, that I should have noticed earlier. I didn't take the bait. I trusted my wife. I said simply, "That's not negligence. That's marriage. Or at least, what I thought marriage was supposed to be." Gerald Thompson testified next, his journal entries providing a detailed timeline of the affair. Then came Linda Cooper, Ryan's ex-wife, who described how Ryan had bragged about his perfect setup with Jessica. The defense had almost nothing. Jessica's attorney tried to paint her as a victim of Ryan's manipulation, but the evidence was overwhelming. She'd signed the incorporation papers for the shell companies. She'd opened the offshore accounts. She'd submitted the false insurance claims. On the fourth day of trial, Jessica's attorney requested a meeting with the judge. When they returned, Jessica stood and addressed the court directly. "Your Honor, I'd like to change my plea to guilty," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The judge accepted the plea. Sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Tyler and I walked out of the courthouse into cold sunshine. He stopped on the steps and turned to me. "Is it weird that I don't feel anything?" he asked. "Like, she's in a prison, and I just feel empty." "That's not weird, son. That's self-preservation. You can't keep hurting for someone who hurt you." At the sentencing hearing, the judge gave Jessica 5 years, with possibility of parole after 3. She also ordered full restitution to be paid from any assets Jessica still had. Before they led her away, Jessica asked to speak to Tyler. The judge allowed it, supervised. She approached us slowly, hands cuffed in front of her. "Tyler, I'm so sorry. For everything. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that I love you." Tyler looked at her with eyes older than his years. "If you loved me, Mom, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have destroyed our family for money. Dad loves me. He's proven it every single day. You just proved you love yourself." Jessica started crying, but Tyler turned and walked away. I followed him, leaving her there with her tears and her regrets. As we drove home, Tyler asked me, "Dad, do you think she'll ever change?" "I don't know, but that's not our problem anymore. We've got our own lives to build now." And that's exactly what we did. 9 months after Jessica's sentencing, Tyler and I had built something I never thought possible, a normal life. We'd moved into a small house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Tyler had his own room, I had an office, and we had a backyard where we'd set up a basketball hoop. The travel agency was gone. I'd sold what remained of Shaw and Associates to a competitor who was willing to overlook the scandal for the right price. The money went toward restitution payments and legal fees, but I didn't care. I'd started fresh, working as an independent travel consultant from home, specializing in adventure tours. Smaller scale, less overhead, and most importantly, no partners. Tyler was thriving at his new school. He'd made the varsity basketball team, maintained his honor roll status, and even got a girlfriend named Sophie who came over for dinner sometimes. Watching him smile again, hearing him laugh at stupid jokes, seeing him just be a teenager instead of carrying the weight of adult problems, that was worth more than any business. Catherine Pierce had become a friend beyond just being my attorney. She'd check in occasionally, make sure we were doing okay, and she'd even come to one of Tyler's basketball games. It was nice having someone in my corner who understood everything we'd been through. Jessica wrote letters from prison. They came every few weeks, addressed to Tyler. He'd open them, read them silently, then throw them away. I never asked what they said. That was his business, his relationship with his biological mother to navigate. One evening, Tyler brought home his report card. Straight A's. Dad, I've been thinking about something, he said as we celebrated with his favorite meal. I want to legally change my last name. Keep Shaw, but also add your middle name. Tyler Daniel Shaw. What do you think? My throat tightened. You don't have to do that. I know, but I want to. You're my father in every way that counts. I want my name to reflect that. We filed the paperwork the next week. When the judge approved it, Tyler looked at his new birth certificate and smiled wider than I'd seen in years. Thanks, Dad. For everything. For not giving up on me, even when you found out the truth. Tyler, the truth is that you're my son. That's the only truth that matters. Life wasn't perfect. We still had hard days. Tyler sometimes struggled with anger about everything that had happened. I still had moments where I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, wondering if I'd missed other warning signs, if I could have prevented the damage. But mostly we were okay. Better than okay. I'd even started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee here and there with a woman named Andrea who worked at the local bookstore. She knew my story, didn't judge it, and appreciated my devotion to Tyler. We took things slow, which suited me just fine. Tyler approved. She's nice, Dad, and she doesn't look at us like we're broken. We're not broken, son. We're just different now. Yeah, different's not so bad. 18 months after the trial, Tyler graduated high school with honors. The ceremony was held outdoors on a perfect June afternoon, and I sat in the crowd watching my son walk across that stage with a pride that threatened to split me open. He'd been accepted to Oregon State University on a partial basketball scholarship, engineering program, full ride for academics after the first year. The kid I'd raised, the one who'd survived everything life threw at him, was heading off to build his own future. After the ceremony, Tyler found me in the crowd. He was still wearing his cap and gown, diploma clutched in his hand. We did it, Daddy said. No, son, you did it. I just made sure you had what you needed. That's exactly what a dad does. We took photos, ate terrible graduation party food at a friend's house, and made small talk with other parents who all seemed to have much simpler stories than ours. Later that evening, just Tyler and me at home, he brought up something I'd been dreading. Dad, Mom wrote me again. She wanted me to visit her before I leave for college. My jaw tightened, but I kept my voice neutral. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me thinks I should go, get closure or whatever. But another part of me thinks I already have closure. She made her choices, and I've made mine. There's no wrong answer here, Tyler. Whatever you decide, I support you. He thought about it for a long moment. I think I'm good. Maybe someday, but not now. Right now, I want to focus on the future, not the past. Then that's what we'll do. The weeks before Tyler left for college flew by. We made a road trip out of moving him into his dorm, stopping at random diners and tourist traps along the way. Just father and son, making memories that had nothing to do with courtrooms or betrayals. When we finally got him settled, Tyler walked me back to my truck. You gonna be okay? He asked. Living alone in that house. I'll be fine. Besides, you're only 2 hours away. You'll be home on weekends, eating all my food and doing your laundry. Tyler laughed. Probably true. Then his expression turned serious. Dad, I need to say something. Thank you. For choosing me. For fighting for me. For loving me, even when you found out I wasn't biologically yours. A lot of men wouldn't have done that. Tyler, you listen to me. Being a father has nothing to do with biology. It's about showing up. It's about choosing to love someone every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You are my son, and you always will be. We hugged there in the parking lot, and I didn't care who saw the tears on my face. Driving home alone felt strange. The house was quiet when I got back, too quiet. But it wasn't the suffocating silence of despair. It was the peaceful quiet of a chapter ending and a new one beginning. I walked through the house, seeing all the signs of our life together. Basketball trophies on a shelf. Photos on the walls. Tyler's favorite coffee mug still in the dish drainer because I hadn't been able to put it away yet. My phone buzzed. Text from Andrea. How drop-off go? Want to grab dinner and talk about it. I smiled and typed back. Dinner sound perfect. Later, sitting across from Andrea at a quiet Italian restaurant, she asked me if I was okay. You know what? I really am, I said. For the first time in years, I'm actually okay. What changed? I stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop. I stopped expecting disaster. I realized that Jessica didn't get to define my life anymore. Tyler and I, We're writing our own story now. Andrea reached across the table and squeezed my hand. That's a good story. Yeah, it really is. That night, lying in bed, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the lies, the legal battles, the pain. But I also thought about Tyler's resilience, about the strength we'd found in each other, about the future we were building. Jessica had told me I meant nothing to her. She'd try to destroy me, try to take everything I'd built. But she'd failed, because I'd discovered something she never understood. You can't destroy a man who knows his own worth. You can't break someone who refuses to stay broken. I'd left that day, without a word, and never looked back. And in doing so, I found myself again. Tyler texted me before I fell asleep. Thanks for today, Dad. Love you. I typed back. Love you too, son. Proud of the man you're becoming. And I meant every word.